A friend of mine wrote, how do you deal with the person you want to spend forever with deciding that they want to be on their own? And this is someone who's older.
Well, I mean, obviously, I would think that's tough.
Yeah.
You know, but again, I put myself in your shoes, and I think the person we're talking about is even older.
Older than you,
Older than us, right? And the relationship was, do you know how long it was?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, I'm going to assume it's at least as long as our relationship. It's sounding like the person is breaking up with them and moving on to something else. I mean, it's tough. I would say the older you get, as, you know, I know that at this point I'm looking to find the person that I'm going to settle down with. If it's Michelle or not, regardless, it's getting down to that point where it, you know, I want to be able to start that phase of life. And I know that that is very true for many of my friends, both my age and older. Most people around our age. So that can be particularly tough. The one thing that you have to think about, though, is that you still have time to find someone, and you need to be able to be happy for this other person.
You have to let them go.
You have to let them go, because there's no amount of wanting them back or being angry at them leaving and wondering why, you know, why did you stay in this relationship for so long just to leave me? None of that is going to do you any good. That's number one. Number two, be upset.
Yeah, it's
totally
okay to be upset. It's a big deal.
Cry. Talk to friends about it. You just spent X amount of time with someone that clearly, based on the question, you thought you were going to spend the rest of your life with. That's a big deal. That's a big portion of your brain where all of your decisions and thoughts and ideas for the future were all invested in that idea. Mm-hmm. That's like finding out that tomorrow you don't have legs. Well, if you found out tomorrow that you don't have legs anymore, you'd have to rediscover everything. There would be a certain amount of time that you'd go through a mourning phase, a grief, where your brain, grief is just your brain having to figure everything out.
You can grieve lots of stuff. I mean, like from a bad haircut, you grieve the loss of your hair. And it might sound silly, but that's like legitimately something that people can go through the stages of grief for, to death, or to finding out that you're going to die, like soon.
The main thing is, your brain is going through a huge change. There's so many ideas, so many thoughts that need to be readjusted. And that's what grief is going to do for you. It's going to provide the, essentially, destruction of all those ideas and allow you to rebuild.
You can't keep it in.
Nope.
It will eat you alive.
Let it out.
From the inside.
But one thing that you need to know is that don't hang on to anything. Don't hang on to the idea that this person made a mistake or that this person could have still been the one or anything like that. Be happy for that person.
That's just going to keep you from moving on, longer. Need to move on.
Move on. It'll be better for you in the long run.
Last question. To go ahead and get it out there, my parents are strict Christian. I was raised that way and continued believing that way until about 2 years ago. I'm still not certain as to my spiritual beliefs, but I'm trying to be really open-minded. Right now, I'm reading up on Wicca and have been for about 6 months. It sounds like it's where I'll be landing. My mom didn't have a good relationship with her mother, but a great one with her father, who was murdered 5 years ago. She's trying to make up for her unhealthy relationship with Nana and recreate one with Papa by being really clingy and ultimately overbearing with me. The fact that I don't choose to believe in God and I'm looking into paganism of all things has caused irritation on both of our parts. I'm trying my very best not to rub it in her face. She'll ask about it, hinting at curiosity, and then when I act the least bit happy about my new belief, she huffs and says things like, I just can't believe you're turning your back on God. I of all people have enough reasons to hate God and get drunk all the time and do drugs, but I don't because blah, 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 blah. It's gotten to the point where in order for me to not blow up on her, I have to hang the phone up and cool off. I just don't know how to handle this. I'm not sure if you've been in this sort of situation before, but any advice at all you have will be helpful, if only at the very least just listening.
I think this relies less on a religious issue and more on a you and your parents being able to communicate issue. I think the key thing that you wrote in there right off the bat was your mom didn't have a good relationship with her mom. So what I've seen in plenty other situations like that is that what you learn from your parent, you end up teaching to your kids.
Whether it's conscious or not.
Yeah, whether it's conscious or not. I'm sure, of course, nobody raises their kid with the intentions of having a bad relationship with them later. But you do raise your kids with the same set of tools that you were given by your parents. And if your mom didn't know how to communicate with you, you're not going to know how to communicate with your daughter. You need to look at it from that standpoint, that your mom doesn't quite know how to communicate with you. Now, that does not mean in any way that she doesn't love you and that she doesn't want to protect you.
Or that she's wrong.
Right. It's very clear in the line that you wrote about her being overbearing and whatnot and trying too hard. Well, think of any time you tried to learn anything new that you really, really, really wanted to do. Quite often, when we don't have any real guidance, we try too hard. If nobody ever showed you how to talk to a boy, if nobody ever taught you how to do just about anything,
yeah.
you would go through all these different possible routines that you might think of how to do them, which is inevitably, you're not going to go down the right paths right off the bat.
Or you'll do something that you saw in TV or movies, or
Exactly.
from your parents.
Exactly. My suggestion to you is to understand where your mom is coming from. Not that your mom is right, not that you have to somehow change everything that you're doing and accept, her version of faith, or anything like that. But you do have to understand where she's coming from. That being said, you also have to be able to understand where you're coming from. Why is it that you get frustrated with her and are unable to talk to her to the point where you want to hang up the phone? Why is it that you feel that your parents cannot understand your pagan views? Why is it that you are really interested in Wicca or any other religion in general? There's an answer to all those things. It's not just because it's not, something your parents won't understand, but it's potentially something that you don't have a full capability of expressing yet. So I say to you, figure that out. Because if you can explain it to yourself and you can explain it to somebody else, then you're halfway, if not all the way there, to explaining it to your parents. And again, compassionate. Be understanding of their position.
It's not easy, and it might just take some time. And
Yeah.
I know you're saying she brings it up, but I mean, maybe until you're totally set, because you said you've been looking at it for 6 months and you think it's where you'll land, but maybe not. And maybe, any number of things could happen. So maybe try to stay away from it in conversation, and that might be hard, but you might have to just get a little stronger with it and just be more firm that you don't really want to discuss it right now, or you're not ready to discuss it in a very loving way. Not in a, I don't want to talk about it or anything like that. This whole thing does not need to be a horrible fight.
I mean, again, if you learned everything from your parents, you learned how to interact with people from your parents, you certainly learned how to interact with them from them. So right now, if you find yourself running into a wall where everything is an argument, look to how you can change that. Look to how you can maybe handle things where you don't create an argument. You don't feed an argument.
And you're not at the mercy of their desire for the conversation to be an argument.
Right.
You're not at the mercy of that. You can change it.
And also know that when they come to you and they are upset about the idea of you being pagan or whatever it is in their head, recognize that is a fear that they have. Okay, your parents, they truly believe that there's a heaven and a hell, and that if you don't believe in Christ, that you are going to hell. That might be a genuine fear to them. That think about any genuine belief that you might have, like don't step on the train tracks when a train is coming, right? I'm assuming that, like most people, you believe that is a very dangerous idea. So if you equate that with believing in God and the idea if you don't believe in God, you're going to get hit by a train.
She's trying to grab you back.
She's trying to pull you back. So what's the best way to heal that? Well, it's through understanding. So right now, maybe she just doesn't understand where you're coming from. If you were somebody that wanted to be in the circus and shoot yourself out of a cannon, I could see your parents being pretty scared for your safety if they didn't understand how it worked. So the best way to get them to understand is to explain, is to have a discussion, to be an adult about it. Be someone that understands where they're coming from. Somebody that shoots himself out of a cannon for a living knows how it works. If somebody has a question, they have an answer for it. So put yourself in that position. Be the person that has an answer. Be the person that is a professional in your own ideas. So be smart.
Be smart.
Be an expert at Wicca so that you have a comfortable ability to sit and discuss it with them without getting upset.
That was very good.
Thank you. Thanks.
I think that's it. That's all for this video. Bye. Bye. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye. Who says bye, everybody? Bye. Oh, Conan. Bye, everybody. Bye.
I'm Andy Richter.